Hey, what's going on everyone, this is iReviews back with another video, and today we're talking about the latest beta of iOS 17.4. Now it's really interesting because with this beta, it feels like we're going backwards, but all that we're going to talk about in a minute here. Let's first take a look at this update and see what we're talking about here. So the beta 3 of iOS 17.4 will come to your device at around 600 to 700 megabytes, always of course different on different devices and always different based on which software you have currently installed on your iPhone. Now the build number for this update is 21E5200D. That D at the end of the build number indicates that we will have probably another couple of betas before we move to the RC version and then the final release of iOS 17.4 to the public. But towards the end of the video, we're going to talk about the next betas and the final release date as well. Now first of all, let's talk about some of the changes and new features that you will find on beta 3 of iOS 17.4, even though this beta has just a few minor changes because Apple is probably done with new features on iOS 17.4 which have been added in the first couple of betas. Now this one right here, which is really interesting, and I really like this way more than the way it used to be before. When you add a new wallpaper to your device with iOS 17.4 beta 3, it will no longer by default blur the home screen wallpaper. Now you can see right here it says lock screen, home screen, and the wallpaper is not blurred. If you want to blur that wallpaper, you will have to do that manually. Of course, you can do it from here still with the blur button, but by default, previously it used to add the blur on the home screen. Now it no longer does that. When you open the podcast app for the first time on iOS 17.4 beta 3, you will see a new splash screen talking about the new transcripts that Apple has added to the podcast app with iOS 17.4, and also the search in transcripts where you can actually search for anything you want on that podcast. Also, when you go to podcasts here, you will notice that when you're playing a podcast and you have the transcription enabled right here, the player right here will disappear automatically. So all the controls will just go down and you will see a full screen of the transcription, and of course alongside with it also the search bar, which of course you can use here to search anything you want. Now if you want to get the controls back, all you have to do here is just swipe down like this and it brings back the controls on your device, which is really cool. And you can see right there in the second it will also disappear as easy as that, and you will see the full page with the transcription. Now another really cool change that I have seen on Twitter but I didn't get it on my device is a new hello screen that some users have gotten once they have updated their device to the new iOS 17.4 beta 3. A new hello screen with like an emoji or your profile picture of your Apple ID, which is really interesting, but I didn't get it on my device. Hopefully with the final release everyone will get that new hello screen on their device. Now the reason that I say that we're going backwards with this beta is that it has basically some pretty cool features that Apple has removed. First of all, when you go to the clock app and you go to the stopwatch, with the first betas, when you start the stopwatch, it has a live activity feature. So you start the stopwatch here, you go out, you will have of course it on the dynamic island here, and you will also have the live activity on the lock screen. No longer we have that. Apple has removed that feature, which is actually pretty cool to have. Another thing that Apple has changed is the address bar here on Safari. Now this used to be way bigger with the first couple of betas. Now they have basically gone backwards and placed the old one back again here. And another feature Apple has removed, which is probably not that important for most users, is if you go to security and privacy here and you scroll all the way down, go right here to analytics and improvements. There used to be a button to improve the wallet. Now that has been removed as well. And now let's talk about something really important, the battery life on iOS 17.4. Of course, when talking about battery life, we cannot talk still about beta 3 because we have to wait a few more days to see how it performs. But let's see here the times with beta 2, and it actually is not that bad at all. So you can see right here with 60%, 6 hours, 51 minutes on screen. Then we have here 75%, 7 hours 47 minutes. Then right here we have 6.5 hours with 75%. Then right here you can see about 35, maybe 40%, 5 hours 58 minutes, and then right here with 75%, again 6 hours and 16 minutes. But of course, this is a newer device and the maximum capacity is still at 100%, so you can again expect it to have a better performance. And as you can see right here with 60%, we got 6.5 hours on the screen, which is actually quite good. Now, another sector here that we have gone backwards with iOS 17.4 is the performance. We got way better scores with the second beta than with the third beta. You can see right here, the single core score on the third beta is 2,968, while it was 2,982 on beta 2. And you can see right here also quite a big decrease on the multi-core score. So with the third beta, we have a multi-core score of 7,432, while on beta 2 that score was 7,486, a few points better right there. But again, we will have to run another test in a couple of days, see if it performs better and if it will have a better score. So what to expect next from iOS 17.4? Well, I think Apple is done with adding new features to iOS 17.4, and these features that we already got with the first couple of betas are the ones that we're getting with the final release as well. But when it will happen? Well, I expect Apple to release a couple of more betas before releasing the RC version of iOS 17.4. So I would expect a new beta on the 20th right here, then another one which will be the last beta that Apple will release to the devs right here on the 27th. And I would expect Apple to actually release the RC version, which is basically the final version that they released to the public, but they release it a week before to the devs before releasing it to the public. That should happen on the first week of March, probably on the 4th or 5th of March. Apple should release iOS 17.4 RC to the devs before releasing it to the public a week later. Now, my guess here is that Apple will actually release here on the 12th or the 11th of March. These are the 2 dates that I expect Apple to release iOS 17.4 to the public. We will of course have to wait and see if that will be the case, if that will be the exact date, but somewhere around the mid of the March we should get iOS 17.4 released to the public. Again, even though with the third betas we didn't get a lot of new features and changes, we still got some pretty cool ones with the first couple of betas, so that probably will be it, and the other betas will be just improvements, fixes, and minor changes on iOS 17.4. And this is probably the last big update to iOS 17 with a lot of new features and changes before we move to the first beta of iOS 18, which seems to be pretty exciting. So that's about it for this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go ahead, leave a like if you did, and of course subscribe for more videos, and I will see you on the next one.